Fish chasing bait, right? And a fish eating my spinner bait. Little one come up right there chasing bait. And that one got on the spinner bait. Little guy, but it's a start. Sweet. Well, folks, we're out on Lake Wylie. It's early part of March, and it's been a while since I've been out. The water's just been real cold, and fish have not been biting well at all. And so, got a nice, warm, sunny afternoon, and figured come out and see if we could catch a few. But most of what I'm going to concentrate on today is going to be points. Some main lake points and also some secondary points. These fish are still kind of in the winter patterns, and they haven't really started to move a lot yet, or start to move in, so we're gonna fish a lot of the stuff where they relate to in the winter. Maybe we get lucky, find a group of fish that have started to move in somewhere. But I just started on this point and actually saw a fish come up and chase a bait, picked up a spinnerbait, threw it in there, and captured that one. Slow rolling a spinnerbait. Gotta love it. There's a lot of big fish caught on this technique. But all I'm doing is just winding that spinnerbait just fast enough to feel that blade turn. I'm using a real slow gear ratioed reel. Just helps to slow that bait down. But no, that wasn't the only fish in there. What I'm throwing is just a 5/8 ounce spinnerbait with a Colorado and a willow leaf blade on it. I like that combination of a Colorado for a little bit of a thump, a little bit more thump, and the willow leaf, it gives a lot of flash. But when I'm slow rolling a spinnerbait, I like that combination. A lot of times in the winter when the water's real cold, you just kind of have to, you get these little opportunities like that. I mean, I was going down throwing this crankbait, saw that fish come up and chasing bait, threw that spinnerbait in there and caught one. Sometimes you get those little opportunities where the fish are showing you, hey, we're here, dummy, throw your bait over here. But what I'm going to do is kind of work these points over pretty hard. I'm fishing with a crankbait, fishing just kind of out off the drop, fish just a little bit deeper, and then I'll come back and drag either a Carolina rig or a football head jig. But if those fish continue to show me that they're up in the water column like that, up chasing the bait, then I'll dig out a jerk bait or a grub or something different. Just kind of have to let the fish tell you what it is they're doing and what they want. What I've done is I just basically worked down this point, the edge of the break with this point with this crankbait, and didn't get any bites. But what I'm going to do now is just turn and work back up the break with a Carolina rig or this football head. And just kind of alternate, really try to get an idea of just how aggressive or active the fish are. I mean, I caught that one on that spinnerbait, but a lot of times those fish, that fish was up there chasing bait. It's really hard to make any real assessment based on that kind of a fish. But with the way the wind's blowing, I wanted to come with the wind, throwing a fast moving bait, something that not quite so sensitive to how fast you move. It's tough with a Carolina rig if the wind's blowing you and you're trying to fish slow and the wind's blowing you real fast or faster than you like. It just makes it hard to fish the bait slow enough to really get the way you want to. And Carolina rig is not the most exciting bait in the world, but the thing catches fish. Like that. Just like that. Look at that fat little butterball. And that little fish, just obese. I mean, he's not a big guy, but got a belly. He's obviously been eating well, and I was just dragging that Carolina rig along on the bottom. Felt tick tick. Gotta love it. I mean, the water temperature's 48, 49, right there in that range, so fish are not still real aggressive. And talk real quick about a Carolina rig. For those that don't know, it's a pretty simple deal. Got a weight, and I've actually downsized to about a 3/4. And then I like to use a little rattle, and this thing has got, you know, it actually makes a pretty good little noise, and you can hear it. And I've got a bead to protect my knot, a swivel, and then my leader today is about 3 foot long. Little 1/0 hook and a little zoom French fry. It's a pretty simple little deal, but very effective, especially pre-spawn kind of fish that are staging. Because the thing that you have to think about is, for folks, is that all winter long these fish have been out here on these main lake points, on the main river channels, and on the breaks. And as the weather's starting to warm and as the water's starting to warm, these fish will begin to start staging and getting ready to move into spawn. And so these main lake points like this, these fish are going to move in and spawn back here in the back of these pockets, pocket there. And what they'll do is, you know, they'll move up on these points and just kind of wait till the water temperature gets right, till the conditions get right, and then they'll just follow the bank, just move right in there and go try to find their, you know, the areas where they're going to spawn and get the job done. But it's just something that, you know, you have to think about where the fish are or where they've been and where they're going to, and just try to figure out where in the process they are. And right now they're really still out on these points. They haven't begun to move in yet. But if you can find a big group of them staged up on some of these points getting ready to move in, you can really have a lot of fun. And in fact, something that just want to talk a little bit about the equipment that I'm using for my Carolina rig. You know, all of my rods I've had modified now by Les at Cam's Customs, and you know, they all have this spiral wrap where the guides actually wrap around the rod, and they're using micro guides. And what that does is really help with casting distance. I can cast, get a lot more distance on my cast, get a lot more control out of it. But I like this is a 7'9" rod. I like a real long rod because typically with this Carolina rig, you're making pretty long casts. So that longer rod helps to get that cast. And the other thing it does is when I get a bite and I need to set the hook, I can sweep this rod and move a lot more line with that longer lever. As far as line choice, fluorocarbon wouldn't be a bad choice. I still fish mono. It just, to me, I've become accustomed to the feel of it. It does have a little more stretch. It is not quite as sensitive as fluorocarbon is, but it just casts a lot easier, so you don't have a lot of the headaches and backlashes that you get with fluorocarbon. So I still kind of old school on that deal. But monofilament, I'm 20-pound main line with a 14-pound leader. You know, this water's not real clear, and the fish on this lake have never shown me that they're real line sensitive, so I don't worry about that stuff too much. Just for giggles, because we did see those fish a couple fish come up chasing bait, I'm going to throw a grub around in there just a little bit, make a few maybe work out on that point, just one past that grub and see, because like I said, a lot of these fish are still in their kind of their winter patterns, and so you end up with a lot of fish that are suspended and not relating to the bottom. And this grub is just a simple little deal, but it's been so effective catching these fish that are suspended. It's just a little 3-inch chartreuse grub on a 1/8 ounce darter head. And a lot of guys throw it on a bait casting reel, or you can throw it on a spinning rod. Doesn't, just a matter of personal preference. Oh, you can hear that line singing through the water. Oh, look at that little butterball. Come here. Come here. That little bitty hook, I don't like to swing. That little butterball. That is a nice chunky little fish on that little grub, and yeah. Sweet. Let's throw it back in there and see if we can get another one. But you know, just like I was saying, you just throw it up there and wind it along. All of a sudden, your line goes tight.
Who isn't tired of tangled fishing rods, bent or broken rod guides? Then you need the Rod Jimmy. The Rod Jimmy makes it easy to protect your valuable fishing rods with easy on and off protection. Made of durable materials for a lifetime of use, the Rod Jimmy will more than pay for itself with one season. Say goodbye to tangled rods and lines. Store and carry more rods securely and easily with the Rod Jimmy. Order yours today at therodjimmy.com. That's therodjimmy.com.
These grubs are actually products of Jeff Konopka, Jack's Custom Baits. I caught that fish, and a lot of times there'll be a group, groups of fish if you can find them. You know, if you catch one, usually there's more in the vicinity. So as soon as I hooked up with that fish, I tried to stop the boat so I wouldn't get too far away from where I hooked that fish. But you know, and the great thing about this time of year and fishing these kinds of places is that you could literally, I would have no qualms at all about just sitting on this point for hours, just working back and forth, up and down around the break, because there are constantly fish moving up and down on these points. And so you may make a pass and not catch a fish, and then turn around and make a pass and catch 2 or 3, go back down it, make another, catch another 1 or 2, and you can just fish up and down and around these places this time of year, because these fish, in a lot of cases, they are suspended, and then they'll just move up or down in the water column, move up and start relating to a piece of cover structure on the bottom. Fish. I could tell, I could feel the weight in my line started going tight. Get out of the trolling motor, thank you. Fish trying like heck to get me in the trolling motor. Another good fish. And this is 10-pound line, so I don't want to try to don't want to try to muscle these fish. I mean, shouldn't break you on 10-pound line. 3-pound fish shouldn't break you off, but if you get a little nick or a fray, not good. Come up here. This is a fat little fish. Oh. That's a good one. Look how fat that fish is. Gotta love pre-spawn fishing. The fish has been caught before. Doesn't seem to be hindering it from eating, because it is fat as a tick. Really, with this grub, what you're trying to do is you're actually fishing for fish that are suspended up in the water column. You're not really trying to get it down there to the bottom and fish for those fish on the bottom. You're actually fishing for those fish that are up in the water column. But, cool. There are times, and there are guys that do fish it on the bottom, but oh. Well, that fish doesn't have any problems being active. He hit it out here pretty close to the boat. Come here. Come here. Another good fish. Yeah, he's hooked good. Come here. And you gotta love that. I mean, that's one of the nice things about that grub and that little hook, that it's so sharp. It almost always sticks them right there in the roof of the mouth. And it's just a real light wire hook, so it goes in real easy. Now they're good, chunky, fat fish. Gotta love it. There you go, buddy. Sweet. Well, I thought we were gonna have to drag stuff around on the bottom to get bit today, but we can keep going with this grub. This could be kind of fun. Tell you what though, see this kind of, catching these fish on this grub just makes me think that, that I could also probably catch them on a swim bait. Yeah, if they're, I'm always trying to figure out a different way or think of a different way to catch these fish, because here, fishy. I've not gotten over there on top of the point to mark any of these fish, so I don't know what's there. Before we leave, we'll drive over that. That's something that's important to do is, you get to catching fish on a certain place or on a little point, and then when they stop biting, if you'll go in there and look at it with your electronics and figure out what's there, how deep a water were the fish holding, was there a school of bait there, what is it that, how that little particular place sets up, then you can try to reproduce it elsewhere. Well, we're burning all kinds of gas today, aren't we? Pulled over here on this one point and have been here the whole time, which has only been 2 hours, or actually less than that of actual fishing time. This grub is not rocket science. You throw it out there and wind it real slow, and just a lot of, it's one of the things that really kind of misunderstood. The most important thing is just finding the fish and knowing, being around the fish, and if you can just get that bait in front of them, they'll eat it. I mean, it's such a small, subtle bait, presents such an easy meal for them. Fish out here eating this grub like this got me thinking about a jerkbait. No, but right now I'm just going to take this fish on the grub. Come here. Another good one. He's not that big. Come here. Oh. That was awful. Gotta love it. Fat little fish. Oh, the fish are just obese. Love it. Come on, fish. But this is pleasantly surprised catching these fish on a grub. But wasn't expecting it. But that's the neat thing about it. You know, that's the neat thing about fishing just in general is, you know, keep an open mind and, you know, keep your eyes open, keep your, you know, head up. And, you know, had I not noticed those fish, you know, those couple fish breaking, you know, I wouldn't have caught that first one on the spinnerbait. And then, you know, I wouldn't have been so inclined or encouraged to dig this thing out of the box had I not seen that, and I wouldn't have caught any of these fish probably. I don't claim to be an expert with this thing. I've just fished it enough that, you know, to catch a few fish on it, and, you know, you learn, you know, every little bit. You know, every time you catch a fish on it, you learn a little bit more about it, gain a little more confidence in it. Yeah, yeah, really. No, you don't have to. No. Come here. Fat little fish. He ain't big, but man, he's fat. Cool. Say again? Yeah. Thank you, sir. No, that's a very, very good observation. You got me goofy-handed. Come here. Oh, that fish pulling. Gotta love it when these fish get like. Come here. A little bit bigger than that last one. Sweet. Go back in there and catch another one. Well, this has been fun. Fun afternoons. Coming out here, and especially given the fact that I hadn't been out here in a while and the bite has just been slow, and actually get to come out here and catch a few has been pretty fun. Clearly there are just a bunch of fish on this point, and they are getting their grub on. Pun intended. Guess I should talk about the equipment, you know, that I'm using to throw this grub. I'm using just a 7-foot medium action Fenwick spinning rod, and spinning reel, 10-pound mono. The head seems to be a fairly important key to this bait, you know, having that real sharp hook. And then the grub is a Jack's Custom Baits, a 3-inch chartreuse grub. And both those guys, you can call them or go to their websites and order the baits. Little guy, but We'll take him. Oh, cut it out. Come here. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Go back in there and catch another one. Little bitty guy. Little bitty guy. Oh, he ain't that little. Wow. He's got that grub down in there. This is hook deepest yet. Sweet. Pretty large Lake Wylie largemouth. Oh yeah. This is a better fish. Come here. Come here. Fish is bulldogging, trying to go down. Come here. Oh. Yeah. Look at that. That is a... God. That's a chunky fish. God. Sweet. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed the show today. It's been a lot of fun. We got out, got to catch some fish, and didn't catch them quite the way I anticipated catching them, but either way, I really just getting to catch them is fun. You know, certainly, hopefully folks have got some idea, you know, how to fish this grub. It's, like I said, not hard. Throw it out there and wind it real slow. You know, the important thing is just finding the fish and concentrating on the points. But again, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, feel free to visit us on the website, fishingwithrusty.com. You know, the message boards and all the information's there for folks to read and see, and hopefully catch more fish by it. We'll see you on the water. Fishing with Rusty is made possible by these great sponsors.
Isn't tired of tangled fishing rods, bent or broken rod guides? Then you need the Rod Jimmy. The Rod Jimmy makes it easy to protect your valuable fishing rods with easy on and off protection. Made of durable materials for a lifetime of use. The Rod Jimmy will more than pay for itself with one season. Say goodbye to tangled rods and lines. Store and carry more rods securely and easily with the Rod Jimmy. Order yours today at therodjimmy.com. That's therodjimmy.com.